going to give them a couple more minutes to go ahead and get into our session. Okay, well, I just wanted to welcome everybody for joining this question and answer session that we have going. If you don't mind, you are certainly welcome to put your video on just so we can have a back and forth conversation. And then as we go, I'm going to do a high-level overview of our program. You're certainly welcome to ask questions as we go, or you can hold your questions to the end. You can also put your questions in the chat as well. Got a couple more people joining us here. Well, thank you, Nick, for joining us, even without a camera. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll have people come in as they join us. Again, my name is Sharon Geisler, and I am the Program Manager for the Workforce Development Training Fund. And we're going to just do a quick high-level overview of our program. We'll do a tour of our website and talk about each of the grants, and then really just open it up for all of you to ask questions, either specifically to your needs or general overview questions. All of that is welcome, and we'll address everything that we are able to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you are able to see what we have going on here. And will you just give me a thumbs up? Johnny, are you able to see that? Okay, great. So in regards to some information about our grant program, we do work very hard to keep our website updated with the most current information. So we would always ask that you go to our website initially to learn about our program. Right now, I am sitting on the DWS website. That is the easiest place to start. And I'm going to copy that and put that into our chat. And then the quickest way to get to our webpage from the DWS is if you just scroll down below this picture, you'll see that we have the Workforce Development Training Fund link right here. When you click on that, it will take you to our site, the Workforce Development Training Fund. And this is where you'll find more information about our different grants. So just real quick, we do have our updated rules available here that were all approved. The emergency rules were approved back in May and have become regular rules. And so if you click on that, this will give you an update of the changes that occurred. And then we do have the rules posted under each one of our grants. As you all noticed when you registered for this session, we do have this opportunity available to businesses just to help them navigate through the process, learn a little bit more about our grant program, and then have that opportunity to ask specific questions. You'll see that we also have February dates available here. So if you know of anybody that you think would benefit from this Q&A session, please encourage them to go to the site and register. If they're not able to actually join a live session, they are certainly welcome to click here, and that will take them to some pre-recorded or to some recorded sessions that we have had in the past, and they're welcome to go ahead and view those as well. As you scroll further down, you'll see that we have quick high-level elevator synopsis of what our grants are for. Here's a fun video for you to watch. And then as we go through our grants, you will hear that we are referencing preferred industries at different times. And so those preferred industries are listed out right here. And those are actually determined by the Wyoming Workforce Development Council. And their website link is right here, that you can see throughout the state of Wyoming, the different geographical locations and the next gen partnerships that they have put in place that call out what those preferred industries are. We also have a general phone number here for you to use if you have any questions and want to reach out to an individual directly. Johnny will most likely go ahead and take those calls and be able to get back with you with your initial questions. And then we also have one of our emails available here for you to send any questions. I am going to put both of our emails in our chat. As designated emails, general questions about the program or specific grants like the business training grant, the pre-hire grant, or the apprenticeship grant, we encourage you to use this Wdtf email. If it is internship specific, we have set up an email that is really specific to internships just because the use of that grant is such a large volume that we want to make sure that we get to those specifically. And so you can use that internship email to specifically ask questions about that grant. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of our landing page. You'll see that we do have links over here to the side for each one of our grants. And so we would encourage you to click on the ones that you think you're interested in learning more about. We're going to go through all of them real quick today. We do have an apprenticeship grant that is available to registered apprenticeship programs here in Wyoming. And we can help with the expenses of that related instruction component that is part of the registered apprenticeship program. They have an on-the-job training component and a classroom or theoretical component. And there's expenses that sometimes come with that classroom learning. And those are the expenses that we can help reimburse for under this grant. You'll see that we do have Ivy Moore's email and phone number here. She is our lead to anything apprenticeship related for the state of Wyoming. She can help you out with technical assistance. She can answer your questions. She can help you get set up with a registered apprenticeship program. And she can be your liaison with the Office of Apprenticeship that will actually get you registered. You'll also see here that we have the application link. And there is an additional employer component to that application. So if you're looking at creating an application for the apprenticeship grant, you would go here. We also have our rules posted here to go along with this grant. And then at the end of that grant, there are final report components that will need to be submitted. And so we do have those forms listed here as well for you to access. Moving on to our business training grant. This is a grant that was established to help businesses with training expenses for their existing employees. There are some components here of the things that we look at when that training is being requested, that it meets these eligibility requirements. And then we wanted to let you know about, up here, we do have the rules for the business training grant, so you can certainly click there. And then we also have it further down. In regards to this training grant, the amount that is available to the businesses per fiscal year is $200,000. That was one of the rule changes that we did back in May that was approved to help businesses really emerge out of the pandemic and have a little bit more funding available to help with training purposes. Businesses are eligible to request up to $200,000 per state fiscal year. In that $200,000, if they are a preferred business, each of their trainees are eligible up to $5,000. If they're not in a preferred business, each of their trainees are eligible for up to $4,000. And so you can apply for your trainees for different training opportunities up to that $200,000 for you as a business. That also allows the owners of the business, the managers of the business to also take advantage of this. There's questions sometimes about when we say employees, whether they're considered eligible, and yes, they are. This document here, action items to apply for a grant, it's a very helpful document that is something that you can open and print out. But the information that's on this link is also right down here to help you know what you need to have in place before you're ready to start doing those applications. This is my one grant that is based on a grant management system. And so it's online applications that you will submit. And so these steps help you understand what you need to do to get into our grant management system, to get set up as a business and have an account, and then be activated and eligible to apply for applications. So you definitely have to do step 1 before you are ready to start step 2. 3 can be done consecutive or at the same time simultaneously as steps 1 and 2, because this is the step that you would need to put in place so that we can make reimbursements back to you as a vendor of the state. Once you've completed steps 1, 2, and 3, you can go ahead and do that online application and go ahead and navigate through the grant system to do that application. We do have a few things here to help you know a little bit more about what that process would look like. Let's see, let's go ahead and get these guys admitted. There we go. Okay. And then again, further up, back where we were before, here are some typical forms and documents that you would need for those business training grant applications. We do ask for employment verification of the trainees that you're applying for. We also have some documentation here that's really great for you to download before your trainees go to training, because one of the components of the final report is that they have to verify that they went to that training. And sometimes this gets overlooked until after the fact. So I would certainly recommend that you look at these documents and get them to your trainees before they go to training so that that piece will be taken care of. There's also a final report summary that will need to be completed by the trainees. So there's a template available here. And this final report checklist will give you a really good idea of what you'll need to have in place after the training has been completed in order to request that reimbursement. With the business training grant, one of the components of this grant is that when the trainees go to that training, they are required to stay in the employment of the business for at least 45 days after the training has been completed to benefit the business for sending them to that training. And then once that component has been met, then you're able to do your final report in the grant management system for your reimbursement. All of our grants are reimbursement models, and so you would need to apply and then have it approved and go into contract and be executed before that training takes place in order for us to be able to do the reimbursements of what got approved. As I said, I'm going to go through these rather quickly and then give you guys time for specific questions under each grant or for your own needs. We do have some frequently asked questions that can help you navigate through the business training grant. We have some helpful hints, and then that can also help you with that. And then we'll move into the internship grant. This has been our most recent grant that's been approved and has been highly valued, and we have a large volume of applications coming in for this grant. It does give a quick little synopsis of the intent of this grant and who we think would be benefiting from this. We have that email link right here so that you can send questions directly to this email for this grant. And then again, you'll notice that we do have the application and the rules. I wanted to highlight that this is new and exciting. We just rolled this out in the last few weeks. We now have a Google form application available for you to do the internship grant. If you don't prefer that method and would prefer to stick with a PDF fillable form, we do still have that available right now, but we are eventually going to go to the online form just for the consistency of the applications coming in. It also helps our efficiency in reviewing those applications, and we're usually able to get them turned around a little quicker once we're using that Google form. So I just wanted to let you know that right now, both options are available for you to apply for the internship grant. I wanted to point out that we do have some resources here that we're recommending for the internship grant. There is a component when you apply and you have a wage amount in mind of what you would like to pay your interns. You have to be able to support that wage with some average wage documentation for Wyoming. ONET is a really great resource to utilize for that. So for example, if you wanted to have an internship available for, say, a bookkeeper, you would go ahead and go up here to that search for that type of role. And it gives you a list of job opportunities and job occupations that may fit that internship opportunity that you're looking for. You would kind of look at the headings that they have here to give you a general sense of what one you might look for. And let's just say that this one is a good fit for a similar match to what I want to offer as an internship. You would want to find something as similar as you could, but if for whatever reason you have a really specific role that may not be on that list, you can certainly reach out to us and ask for some examples that might be a good equivalent. You can also look at Indeed.com or one of the job search engines that show similar job opportunities and what the pay rate for that role might be if it's not available in ONET. But going back to this resource, once you've identified, they give a really great example of what this job might look like. There's also some descriptions when you go into the details. And so you'll want to see if this is a good match for what you're looking. And if it is, you'll scroll down to the wage section. And so here you'll want to select Wyoming as a comparable number. We aren't able to accept average wages for California, New York, or other states. We do need to see what Wyoming is able to show. And then when you hit go, it will give us an overview of that role. So it does say Wyoming wages for this role. And it gives us an annual wage, and it also gives us an hourly wage. You'll want to select the hourly because for this grant, we do ask that you hire your intern as a short-term hourly employee, not salaried and not as an independent contractor. So they are going to be hired as an employee, and we do base our grant on the hourly wage. So for this role, for that occupation, $18 is an average wage for that role. So just take into consideration you're bringing on an intern, maybe somebody who doesn't have that work experience, who hasn't been actually trained in this area. Maybe you'd end up paying them a little bit less than what this average wage is. If there's a reason why you want to pay them more, you would need to provide that reasoning in your narrative of why you're paying them more than what this average wage looks like. Sometimes that can be based on the skill level that you're hiring. Sometimes it can be based on what they're going to be learning in that role. Maybe they're taking on more than what this actual job occupation suggests. And so maybe there's a good reason to be able to pay them more than this average wage. I will tell you that if it's just based on geographical location, that you want to pay them higher than this and pay them the max, we're able to reimburse up to $25 an hour. And that difference between $18 and $25 an hour, we can't support a request of just geographical reasons to pay them more from that perspective. But if you can give us a good understanding of what they would be doing that would substantiate paying them more than this, we're certainly able to look at that. Once you get to this location, you can do a screenshot of all of this information, making sure that you include all of this information, the Wyoming wages and the role, and then the hourly view. And you're going to attach that as a supporting documentation into your application, so it supports the wage that you're asking. And in the application, it does give you an opportunity to indicate if you want to pay them more than this average wage. If we're not able to support it for whatever reason, you are certainly welcome to pay your intern more, but you would be paying the difference of what we are able to support and what you want to get them to. And a lot of times that helps with that whole geographical location need that some businesses do have. So that gives you a little bit of idea of how to navigate through ONET to provide supporting documentation for the internship grant. As I indicated, Indeed.com is a really good resource if you find similar job opportunities in the location of the city you're in, or Wyoming. You can certainly do that as well. I'm going to see if I can get this out of my way. There we go. Going back to our website, I wanted to take you through the pre-hire, pre-obligation grants, and then open it up for questions for you all. So the Pre-Hire Economic Development Grant has been established to help businesses when there is a shortage of skilled workers, for them to be able to hire into the needs that they have in their business. And so what they would do is they would coordinate with a training provider and let them know that there is a need for that training. The training provider would be with those businesses who've shown a need with their workforce center in their area and with their local economic development entity who's also collaborating that there is a shortage of workers and that this training is necessary. Once you go to this site, again, we do have the application available, a form for any additional businesses, and the rules to support this grant, and then some final report documentation, some templates and examples for you to use. We are also currently working on a Google form application for this grant as well. We've had such great success with the internship Google form that we're going to offer that as an option for the pre-hire as well. So we're currently working on that. And then as a final grant, this is a grant, the pre-obligation grant is available to our economic development entities that are working with businesses that are looking to come into Wyoming or expanding in Wyoming, and they need to grow their workforce and they have need for training in order for that to happen. So it's a grant that the economic development entity and those businesses would co-apply on, and then estimate what their training expenses would look like. If this grant is approved and put into contract, the business actually accesses the funding to help pay for that training through the business training grant or through the pre-hire grant or a combination of both. And so there is a multi-layered process to the pre-obligation grant that would involve several steps, just as an FYI. But again, we do have the application here and we do have the rules here to help you understand this grant. That is a very quick high-level overview of our website. We do have a couple of other programs under the business training and support unit. That's Wyoming Grown and Why Quality Counts. I can certainly get you connected to the representatives of those grants or programs if you're interested. But right now we're just focusing on Workforce Development Training Fund. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm also going to take a look at my little cheat sheet to make sure I've covered everything that I want to make sure I cover, and then we'll just go from there. So I would love to see what questions you have. And let's see if I can stop sharing. We'll get back to the people here. You can certainly put things into the chat. You can raise your hand. You can go ahead and just unmute and start asking your question, whatever, however you'd like to do this. We're here for you to help you learn more about our program. While you're thinking about that, like I said, I'm just going to go through. Oh, I did want to mention in regards to part of the process for you to be set up as a business to apply for our grants. You will need to be set up with Wyoming unemployment insurance and Wyoming workers' compensation so that we can get the status of good standing with both of those entities. One of the questions a lot of smaller businesses ask us is, well, I don't have to pay into those entities because I don't have any employees. Do I still have to register? The answer would be yes. We do want you to register so that we can get that good standing status. And then mainly it's been for the internship grants. Like I said, once you bring that intern on, you are hiring them as an employee. And so then you would report them at that time to UI and workers' comp. And then they'll work with you to let you know whether you actually owe into the system or not. And they're the experts in that area. So they would be able to guide you much better than I would. I do see some questions coming through on the chat. Let's see. The $200,000 portion of the grant, is it separate from the individual portions? For example, we're bringing a trainer at a site set at $15,000. Do we break that amount? That is a really good question, Nick. So Nick was asking about if they bring a trainer to their site under the business training grant. When you go into the grant management system, there will be a question about whether the trainer's coming to you. And if that is the case and you say yes, then it will open up a separate section where you'll put in the expenses of that trainer coming to your site. The total of those expenses will then be divided evenly between the number of trainees that you put into that application. So if you're at 15,000 and you're only having 2 trainees come in, each of them would owe, the 7,500 out of their budget. And that's more than what they have available to their budget. So they would cap out and then you would have to pay the difference. But if you added 10 trainees to this training, then obviously it reduces the cost of each one of those trainees to where it's divided out evenly. And it's very conceivable that their full training budget could be covered. And so it would just depend on how many trainees you have attending with the trainer coming to your location. Hopefully that answered your question. Let's see. Okay, so Nick says yes. Then we have a question about, I recently submitted an internship grant, did not include the ONET data because we need to. I read we need to include it. So yes, anytime you are submitting an internship application, supporting documentation will need to be included, even if it is that average wage or even if it's less than that average wage, because we use that to finalize what is able to be awarded. And so if you did not include that in your recent application, you can expect that one of my team members will be reaching out and asking you for it. If you did it through the Google application, you are certainly able to go back into that application and upload that document. And then we'll see that it has come through and then we won't need to reach out to you. If it was a PDF that you emailed to us, you'll need to take your application and that supporting documentation and save it as one complete document and then email it to us so that we can continue reviewing it. But it is a required component to the internship grant. Okay, and so Martha, again, if you did do that as a Google application recently, you can certainly go back into your application and upload that document. So Nick has a question, do you do anything with the Safety Improvement Fund? And I actually have another person online and I'm going to call her out. She's not expecting this. Shay, I'm going to answer this question, but if you're able to add anything more to it, I would love your input on that. So our understanding is that there is a state program, the Safety Improvement Fund, that is offered through Workman's Comp and OSHA. And that fund is certainly available to businesses who want to apply for reimbursement to their training expenses from a safety perspective. But I also understand that they offer that, they open that application window, I think once a quarter. And then they do have eligibility requirements that they're looking at that are specific to their program that I'm not very familiar with. And so short answer, yes, there is a safety improvement fund. We don't have anything to do with that. It is through another program under the Department of Workforce Services. And if you want information on how to access that, I can certainly follow up with you to give you that information.
Thanks, Sharon. And I don't have any additional information that you didn't share, but thank you for checking. We can certainly, as Sharon mentioned, get you connected. I can see if there's information that I have had sent to me, or we can put the link on the website here in the chat. So I'll see what I can figure out while you finish up Q&A.
Thank you.
You
And
bet.
Nick says, can we use both of them? You are certainly welcome to apply to both reimbursement programs, but not for the same training. We're not able to duplicate funding. And so if you do get approved through the Safety Improvement Fund for a specific training that you've called out, you would not be able to apply for that same training for the Wdtf fund. And so it is important that there's transparency of any external funding that's been approved, and we're able to pay either the difference of what the external funding won't cover, but if it's another state funded program that's funding that training, we're not able to, you're not able to apply for that in both directions. So hopefully that makes sense too. Okay, what other questions? Nick's been asking a lot of great questions through the chat. Does anybody want to unmute or raise their hand or have anything else they'd like to ask? Okay, we have a quiet group today, and that's okay. Let me just go back through, make sure. Oh, I don't think I covered under the internship grant. There's some things that are really exciting. I wanted to let you know that our rule change that we did back in late spring, we increased the amount per hour that we're able to reimburse. And so we are able to reimburse up to $25 an hour. And that's why we're asking for that supporting documentation, because we do need to see what that average wage would look like. And that's what we're able to support up to the 25. And then we're also increased the number of internship opportunities that you're able to host. Previously, the maximum was 3 internship opportunities, and it was based on the business size. But now we are allowing up to 6 internship opportunities and not have it indicated by business size. What we're asking is that however many internship opportunities you're wanting to host, that you have enough bandwidth of employees that are working there, that you'll be able to assign a mentor to each of those interns, that they're going to have a really good, valuable work experience, and that each individual is given the attention and the time that would make it a worthwhile internship, and that you're not trying to do too many with one person mentoring all of them. So we just ask that you provide all of that information in your narrative, that you have enough people that can support the number of interns that you're requesting. Let's see, we do have some more questions in the chat. So let's see. Oh, thank you. Shay indicated the link for that Safety Improvement Fund. Okay, what other questions do you have? Has anybody started trying to apply for any of our grants and coming up against some barriers that they'd like to ask about or make us aware of, or anything along those lines? Okay. I'm going to start calling out on people just to say hello. Jamie, did we answer all your questions?
You sure did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, I just was curious about how to get started. So you answered my questions great. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Yeah, going to our website will definitely be the best resource for you to get started and to learn about these different grants. So certainly take a look at that, take a look at the rules, and then any questions you have following that, please reach out to us and let us know.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Kelly, did we get all your questions answered?
Yes, you did. We've used the grant in the past several years ago and it was awesome. And we're just trying to get restarted again. So I needed a refresher. So
I am so glad that you came on board because even just several years ago, I think that once you start diving into this, you'll see quite a few changes were made. Reacting to the pandemic, we did do some adjustments and we made some pivots. And so I think you might find some changes from that perspective. So we do appreciate you coming here to the Q&A and learning more about it. I would definitely review the rules of any of the grants that you're interested in, since we did do those rule changes, just to get yourself familiar with anything that might be different from what you did before. So thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, that also prompted me to let you know that you are certainly welcome to apply for more than just one grant at a particular time. And so there's times where maybe you need an intern for certain purposes of your business. And then you also have employees that are currently working for you that could benefit from the business training grant. So please know that you can apply for more than one grant at any particular time, if that's what makes sense for your business. Martha, did we answer all of your questions or take you where you needed to go?
Yes, I think so. I submitted the grant yesterday, and so I'm going to resubmit with the ONET data because I just thought that if we were outside of what the normal ranges were, we needed to do that. And so I had not submitted that initially, but I'll take care of it today.
Okay, so that's helpful for us as well to go back and take a look at our Google form and make sure that that messaging comes across clearly to help people know.
And I didn't do it through the Google form, so I'm going to resubmit the PDF, but it's good to know there is a Google form out there now. I could just redo it all on the Google form if that's easier, but I don't want to make it confusing where I've already submitted it.
You can certainly take a look at the Google form and see if you think it would be easier for you. I would also recommend that if the application that you're currently using didn't reference that component, you may have an older version of the application.
And so it references, it's just that it just says if you're requesting an amount outside of the average, that you then need to include that data. And so that's why we didn't include it, but we can certainly take care of that. It's easy enough.
Okay, that helps us know that the wording may be a little confusing. So we'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Martha. So I'm just making a note here to myself. All right, well, I'm not going to necessarily pick on everybody because I know that you have the opportunity, but if you do have any other questions, please feel free, like I said, put them in the chat or raise your hand. Also, if you've had time to think through this and want to process it a little bit and then send us an email afterwards with any additional questions that you have, please feel free to do so. As I indicated, you can use that internship email if it's specifically about that grant, or the Wdtf general email if it's about any of the other grants or just general questions.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
This is Deb from Powder River Energy.
Okay.
And I just want to say, first of all, our business as a co-op and a nonprofit is most appreciative of the Wyoming workforce and the opportunities that we've been able to afford our employees with the grant funding for our team members. And also, I know for sure this year I'll be utilizing the internship. And then I think last time I sat in on one of these, I also listened a little bit about the apprenticeship part as well. And so I was a little curious as far as if are you able to retroactive any of those if we've had any apprenticeships or the internships that I have some people that are kind of stayed on through the year? I'm just curious about that. I'll go look at the rules, but if you could speak to that potentially.
Yes, absolutely, Deb. Thank you so much. And that's a great question. No, we are not able to do any reimbursements retroactively for training that has already occurred. And so an application would need to be submitted and reviewed and approved before we are able to do that. In the case of interns, we do recognize that sometimes a business needs to jump on that available intern and get them hired before their application has either even been submitted or been approved. And we do understand that. We would be able, if the application is still submitted and references that you have hired that intern, we would, if it gets approved, we would be able to reimburse for the wages that for the hours that are incurred after the grant has been executed and then moving forward. We also asked that this intern is a fairly recent hire and not somebody that's been already hired for the last year as an intern. Is that the right fit for this grant? You know, we have some flexibility in looking at what the individual circumstances are of that business, but we are looking at this to be an opportunity to have that a recent hire. And so in your scenario, if you've had some interns on staff and they're still there, we can certainly have a little bit more in-depth conversation of, you know, what role were they brought in as, if it was that intern, are they still considered an intern? What's their work experience that they're doing? How much longer are they going to be there? We can certainly have those conversations individually with you to see if that's the right fit for this grant. But just wanted to let you know that it cannot be done retroactively, and the internships we can do for the wages after the contract has been executed. Hopefully that answers your questions.
Right, it does, because I do have some like groundman interns who oftentimes we bring on in the spring. And these are high school students that are learning the lineman trade, but at a groundman intern kind of a program that we have.
Sure.
And
sure.
so they might only work they work a good share of hours through the summer months, but then they actually maybe will only work just here and there through the end of the year, end of the calendar year, just based on, you know, their availability with sports and such. But then we kind of shut that down and then restart their program again in the spring. But we may have the same individual based on if we're going to grow that person additionally, because they might have an opportunity for a scholarship or something to grow them into an apprentice in the future. So.
Absolutely. And you actually bring up a really good point that we have addressed a couple different times. One aspect that we have learned from businesses is what their definition of an intern is and what ours is, especially in the healthcare field or in the legal field. Sometimes they look at it as an intern as somebody who's even with them for a long period of time, that you know, that they're doing an internship for 3 years before they're able to be brought on as an employee. We do totally understand that line of reasoning from the business perspective. What we are trying to do with our grant is it is limited to 1,040 hours, and that can give you work experience of 6 months if they're working full time, up to a year if they're working part time. But our hope is that work experience opportunity can be opened up to other individuals and not necessarily reused over and over with the same person. And so typically we ask the business that we certainly see bringing that intern on under this grant for that period of time. But if they're going to stay with you for whatever reason as an intern, we do ask that you don't necessarily roll them into a second grant and that we're continuing to pay for their wages. We would really like to have this opened up to as many individuals as we can to get that work experience and bring on more people to learn about that industry. So there's a little bit of a balance of what the business is utilizing their interns and how long they're with them, and then how they're utilizing the grant. And we've had some flexibility and can see different viewpoints at different times. So again, we'd like to maybe dive into that a little bit more about your specific scenario. It sounds like you'll have a new group coming in the spring. So based on when that's starting, I'm assuming maybe March or April timeframe, you would probably want to go ahead and start looking at doing an application now or by February to have us review that and get that in place before they start. You can certainly do that internship period for the year to allow them to have that majority of time over the summer. And then if they continue with you through the winter to finish out their work experience opportunity, you can certainly do that. But then bringing them back the next summer, maybe that's not necessarily the right fit for this grant, but to give somebody else a new opportunity, but that you could still bring them on as an intern under your resources, but just hopefully giving new people new opportunities each time you apply for our grant.
You bet. Thank you so much. And if we kind of, once I get poised to get ready to get those programs in place, I'll probably reach out to you guys individually and we can speak through that. Thank you for your help.
Great questions, and I love you guys are diving in. I'm getting notification that my presentation isn't necessarily stable. Are you guys still hearing me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Sharon. You're just breaking up a little bit here and there.
Okay, yeah. All right. Anything else that you guys would like to go over? Well, we can certainly give you the gift of time. We typically just take this up to an hour. And we're getting close to that time frame. So if you don't have any additional questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But like I said, if you do think of anything after this and want to do some follow-up, we're certainly able to do a phone call. We can do a video chat. We can respond to your email questions. So please just continue reaching out and letting us know how we can help you. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and wrap this with really great questions that you had. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.